All right, everyone, you saw the title. How did I make $400 trading? I'm going to show you a trade I took yesterday. And before we get to that, I just want to show you proof. So here we have the ES, the S&P 500, one market buy. You can see my entry right there. You can see the date, January 27th. You can see my entry time. And then we have the sell stop loss. So this is where I exited. And you can see that it's about 90 minutes later, just under 10 points right there. So that is the trade we'll be talking about. Now, here we have yesterday's market. So we will be looking at exclusively that. And in this video, I'm going to explain why I took the trade, why I decided to hold on, and what happened on the previous day, what factors led me to take this buy trade. And before we get to that, I want to look at yesterday's news, because this is what I do before all of my sessions. Now you have to understand that when I show you this article here, this is already telling us what happened yesterday. So obviously I didn't know exactly all of these things from yesterday, but the main point yesterday and all of this week and today has been these tech earnings that are coming this week. We have the major earnings coming up this week, and those have been mostly positive thus far. And the expectation is that those will remain to be positive. So for that one reason alone, I mostly had a positive bias for that day. In my mind, it didn't really make sense for me to sell when we had so much positive pressure, especially coming off last week, when last week was quite bad. So that's kind of the fundamental context right there. We have the earnings coming up, and those are mostly going to be green. And before we look at actually yesterday, let's see what happened 2 days ago. So this now is the 26th. You can see down here, and you can see that we had a huge rally. Price soared upwards, and this also worked as a kind of confirmation for my positive bias. Yesterday was so strong that I thought that it was quite unlikely that price was going to go down, although sometimes a retracement will happen after a positive day. But I just thought that because of the news being so good now, it was quite unlikely that price was going to do a huge retracement. Now, really zooming into yesterday specifically, we will look at the market structure on what actually led me to taking this trade. So we had some levels here. So we had a point of control, a previous point of control at this exact point here. So I'm just going to mark that as a context for the video. So here we have the previous point of control. I don't know how well you can see that, but it's at 69.93. And we also had another point, which was exactly at pretty much 70.14. So we had two lines. One was at 69.93 pretty much. And the other one was at 70.14. I'm just going to change the color of these so you can really see them well. So now we have this kind of box here, right? And let's talk about the overnight, all right? So this is the overnight here. We can see that price in the overnight came up, and I thought to myself that if we could establish the VWAP, which is the blue line right here, I would be very inclined to buy. And unlike the previous day, so that 26th, I was really hoping to get a pullback entry, because that's kind of my style of trading. I like to enter the pullbacks. I've made videos about that. So by now you probably know that that's the way I like to trade. I like to trade the pullbacks. Now sometimes you don't get those, but I always hope to get a good pullback entry. And the red line, which is right here, represents market open. So that's 9:30. So after that time, I really look at price very intently. And we can see here that when price comes to this point of control here, there is almost a rejection. So price is trying to go below that, but it ultimately fails, which works as a confirmation for my buying bias. Now, we get this initial up move here, and we get the pullback, which I've been waiting for. Now, this alone isn't enough to convince me to enter. Now, you could enter this, but I was really hoping for price to come back to the previous confirmed level, and that's exactly what happens. You can see right there. That's exactly my entry. I actually got a little bit of a late entry, so I entered exactly at, I think it was 704, which is right here. Not ideal. Price started to move really quickly. I was hoping to get this nice perfect entry down here. Unfortunately, couldn't really get the right entry. I think I might have actually stepped off for a bit. Now we can see that this happens at 10:30. So this is an hour into the session. All of this time here, I've been looking at the price, looking at the charts, checking the news and all that to see if something has changed. And then I see the pullback setup coming in. I can see that price pulls back, which is very typical what happens before price is ready to move. There is almost always a pullback, and price establishes the VWAP perfectly. We can see that in here we go through the VWAP, so that's why I didn't enter here, because it is kind of an unknown situation still. However, here we established the pullback, and when price was retracing to the same place, I knew that if the place was going to hold again, that was my entry. I took the trade. We can see that we have a line here, the other red line. Ultimately, I was targeting above here. I think my target might have been 24, just below the previous highs. So we can see here that price tries to go up to another level here. Ultimately, we fail and we come back to the VWAP again. So the way I played this trade was, when I went to the green here, I put my stop loss initially just below this, this small pullback here. And when I saw that price was indeed starting to come down, I think let me actually look at the screenshot so I know exactly where I put it. Yeah, it's at 70.13, so it's right here. It's right below the level here. I was hoping that price was going to just slightly touch that level and bounce up. Sadly, that didn't happen. So here we can see a quite low risk trade. We have the established level where I entered perfectly, and I trailed my stop loss also perfectly. If I didn't exit at 17.13, I would have actually came down all the way to my entry. So in my mind, this was really a very clean, low risk, very my style of trading. I like these low risk established levels where I can enter without having too much worries. Now, these types of trades typically will take much longer to hit the targets. You can see here that the time was actually 90 minutes. We go all the way from 5:30 to 7 p.m. That is a very long time to sit in a trade, even by my standards. Typically, my trades don't take quite that long. Price was really trying to push up here, which is exactly why I didn't move my stop loss higher or exit that trade manually. If price had quickly came down, I think I would have exited the trade early, because then that would have been a clear sign of rejection. However, price was really trying to push up, but it just didn't have the strength to do so. So if you enjoyed that trade recap, make sure to come and join my free trading Discord. And also, I have recently started to stream on Kick every single day. So I'm live on Kick every single day. So come and follow me on Kick so that you don't miss any of my streams. See you all in the next one.